lot to learn from you. I wanted to make sure that our team, did do you some justice because a lot of the onboarding can be a little confusing for first timers. And we just want to make sure that all of your promotional stuff, everything that it's going to do you good for, the communication with your audience is there for you. That way you don't have to do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
great. Where are you located?
We are in Florida.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Great. I'm in New York.
New York. Okay. Well, it does say there you're doing a lot of change in New York.
Yes, yes, I am. Yeah, where in Florida are you?
That would be Jacksonville. We're in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay,
Mhm.
great. So we're on the same time zone.
Same time zone, right?
Excellent.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And as I mentioned earlier on in our communication, it's really just to learn about what you've done, everything that you've accomplished, give the people what they need to kind of move forward. In our line of work, starting businesses, automating, optimizing, people get scared, you know, with the unknown, with the uncertainty, with like, do I move forward or do I continue analyzing my situation? And your story struck a chord with me because you went from something that was very comfortable for you and you stepped outside of that comfort zone. And so we're going to talk about that today.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Here we go. So, welcome to Talk Thrive. I'm Bessie Hoffman, and today we're diving deep into the entrepreneur journey with Ellen Silverman, a licensed real estate salesperson at Compass who's redefining what it makes to find your sanctuary in New York City. So, Ellen made the bold transition from Wall Street analyst to real estate entrepreneur. And let's see here. And well, she's here with us today. Thank you, Ellen, for coming.
Thank you.
So, talk a little bit about where you're at and what is it that you're doing today.
Okay. Oh, you froze a little bit, Beth.
Not a
Sorry.
problem. So,
Oh,
talk a little bit about where you're at and what you're doing today.
yes, of course. Well, I am a licensed residential real estate agent in New York City in Manhattan. I work for Compass. I've been in real estate 9 years, and I've been with Compass 6 years. And I help buyers and sellers navigate the crazy New York City real estate market. I work with buyers, sellers, and investors here in New York, around the country, and around the world.
Wonderful. All right. So, what you're sharing here is like real estate, real strategies behind building successful business, like in one of the most competitive markets in the world, right?
Yes,
So,
so they
take
say, yes.
so they say, right? So it's a bit of an opinion, but I feel I've been to New York before, and I know how busy it can be in New York with all of the tourism and everything coming in and out on a daily basis. You don't really know what the market's going to look like from day to day. So take us back to that moment when you decided to leave your Wall Street career behind.
Sure. I had been an analyst on Wall Street for a very long time, and it was great and fun and interesting and challenging uh, and engaging for a very long time until it wasn't. And I think after the market crash in 2008 and 2009, um, it my work was highly scrutinized, highly regulated. Um, it got um, it got from it went from very, very exciting to very boring, and I wasn't enjoying it as much with all the scrutiny and the regulations that the banking industry had to adhere to. I'm not saying it was wrong. Obviously, the banking industry needed a lot of scrutiny and regulation, but it just wasn't as exciting. And also, I was just getting older, and it was sort of time for me to go. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean it in the sense that I'd kind of seen it all and done it all, and I really felt like it was just time to close that chapter. Um, but during my Wall Street years, I had bought and sold my own apartment a number of times, investing small and then trading up and trading up. And so I really knew the real estate business as a consumer, not as an agent. So I really enjoyed buying and selling real estate for myself. And I am a native New Yorker, so I really knew the city and I
Right.
really understood where to invest. So that made me really appreciate real estate and be very interested in real estate, which is why I chose it as a second career.
Oh, I see. So you were so accustomed to it. You felt like a fish in water when it came to real estate as it was. And that's why it felt easier for you to make that transition.
Yeah, well, having been on the other side of the equation, I felt like I understood New York City real estate and I understood what I went through as a buyer and as a seller of real estate.
Right.
So that was really excellent knowledge for me to have. Now that I'm an agent, I kind of understand what buyers and sellers are going through. And I also understand New York. If I was doing real estate in another market, I would really be lost.
Oh, yeah.
But having that firm knowledge of the city has helped me tremendously.
I've noticed in many of the people that I speak to, when it comes to making a choice about what niche or really what direction they're going to be going, they feel pulled in different directions in different corners because any one particular trade or niche or industry has so many different avenues in which they can go into. So, what would be your recommendation for that kind of situation where somebody just feels stuck, the overanalyzing, right?
Sure.
Being paralyzed by overanalyzing. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I mean, everybody goes through that. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
I think that if you have a pull or a passion to pursue another type of work, or you have other interests, absolutely, I would pursue that. But you also need money. You know, we have to be practical. You need money to pay the bills. So I would say to anyone, try to have to 9 months of money saved in the bank for to pay your bills while you
Mm.
pursue a new business, or maybe pursue the business part-time while you have your full-time job, or maybe scale back on your full-time job to pursue the other um, uh, business
Mhm.
on a more part-time level. I mean, there are many ways of doing it. I went head first, but I also had savings in the bank to fall back on. I was
Right.
also a lot older. Um, but I think that we're in an age now with technology and working from home, and small businesses are really thriving now, that there's a lot of factors in place that will help someone start a business more easily now than it was 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah. It does seem that small businesses are on the rise when it comes to, I guess, the bravery piece that comes with it because people are starting to see, at least in the circles that I swim in, that the way to go is to work for yourself rather than to work for someone else. Where that uncertainty about what's going to happen next is always at the horizon when you're punching a time card for someone else. So I do see a lot of individuals who have really swam in certain waters for so long and decided, you know what, I know this, I feel comfortable with this. I'm going to go ahead. I think we had a little bit of a glitch. Um, I'm going to now make this my own. I've been in this field. I understand it. I can talk about it. I can teach it. Let's find pain points that people that are in this circle would have and see if we can monetize it in some way and expand on that. And so when I've spoken to other individuals, I find that they love the subject that they're talking about. They enjoy it so much that they want to do a little bit of everything. And instead of saying, hey, this is where I was, this is where I would have needed help. Maybe this is something that I can monetize because I experienced it. I understand the pain point. This is obviously something that's not unique to just me. Maybe others might have this issue. So, do you feel like that might have been something that kind of helped you figure out where you were going to go with this, understanding the pain points?
Well, I was a buyer and a seller of real estate myself, so I did understand the pain points in the process of buying and selling real estate. Um, there's, every deal there are always new things that come up, new pain points. But my role is of a problem solver. But to get back to your, I see where you're going with your question. I think, um, I think that the people don't understand New York City and how it's different as far as real estate goes, and my job is to educate them.
Okay,
So that's really what I do, educating them on the process and why it's different from the rest of the country. Yeah.
that's great. So, Ellen, you had a successful career as a Wall Street analyst with a strong financial and analytical skills. So, what was that specific moment or realization that made you think I need to leave this secure career and dive into a real estate entrepreneurship? What did that internal conversation look like for you?
Yeah, well, I don't know, corporate life and working for a company isn't always as stable as you think it is.
Mhm.
You're always watching your back, and you're always worried about getting fired. There's a lot of volatility on Wall Street, and I think in some ways, I mean, it was very, very challenging. And in some ways, my job now is a lot easier. I don't have to deal with politics. I don't have to deal with managers that aren't supportive, that I don't like. And it was very hard being a woman on Wall Street. I was certainly in the minority all the time,
Right.
every job I had. Um, so yes, it was a stable paycheck, but it was very, very stressful. Um, but what made me decide to leave it was that I was always interested in real estate, and I saw the opportunity, and I knew that I had good financial skills, and I really understood New York City. So I
Mhm.
had that as advantages. I also really I'm very passionate about interior design and
Oh,
architecture, and how things are laid out and built and structured. And I love beautiful finishes. So all that adds to my enthusiasm about real estate. Um, I think the world we're living in general is not as stable as it was. For instance, when my parents were growing up, my mother had two jobs her entire life.
mm,
My aunt worked for two companies her entire life. There was a more of a sense of corporate loyalty a long time ago. I don't think that exists as much anymore. So
no.
I don't think it's as difficult to leave a stable job.
Right, right. So that leap wasn't as difficult for you because you saw
No.
the writing in the walls, as
Yeah, I
you
really
said.
did. Well, one, I wasn't enjoying it, and two, I didn't really feel very supported in my role, and also just the banking industry was going through so much change as well. It just wasn't a fit anymore. It was time to
Yeah.
go.
Right, right. Well, I mean, New York City real estate is notoriously, competitive and expensive. At least that's how I've always perceived it.
Mhm,
And you serve people, to my knowledge, from local renters, right? Correct me if I'm
mhm,
wrong,
mhm,
to international
mhm.
investors, like from
Yep.
Spain, Portugal.
Mhm.
How did you strategically scale from serving local clients to building an international client base? Like, what was the systems that you used to put in place?
Yeah. Well, I there's we have Street Easy here in New York City. It's
Mhm.
like our MLS. And what I majority of my business comes from leads from Street Easy, and I buy specific zip codes in Manhattan. The zip codes that I buy in are extremely diversified. So they have renters, they have lower price points for studio apartments or one bedrooms, and these zip codes are on Billionaires Row, and I can deal with apartments that are $30 million in value for a price point. So that is the way that I have attracted clients is through a specific zip code, not so much in targeting first-time home buyers or international investors. I think that these clients just came to me through the zip codes that I was purchasing.
Okay. So did
Also,
it
also I will add that New York City is an extremely attracts an extremely diverse clientele from
right.
first-time renters all the way up to international investors.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of work and a lot of city life that would attract that kind of people moving from one state to another that are transitioning. I can see how they would need that kind of interaction with you because their company is probably paying for the move, for example, or something like that. Have you seen a lot of that kind of interaction, or is it a lot of one-on-one with
I
the
see
renter?
more of young people moving into New York as renters, and their parents are helping them.
I
Yes,
see. Okay. Right.
more than
So
companies. Yeah.
more than companies. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So if you were to, and this is just something that just came to me now, if you were going to consider how are you going to find your leads, or as they say in some circles, how would you find your audience? Where would you do that? Like what is your specific audience that you see the most lead turnover and generation?
Yeah, it's more from the specific parts of the city that I specialize in. I specialize in Midtown West and Upper West Side, so I'm more acquainted with the inventory, what's
Mhm.
selling, what's in contract, what isn't selling. I'm more familiar with the price points of various apartments in those areas of the city. Um, Compass has an enormous amount of tools and technology that help us with lead generation as well.
Right.
I also have, over the years, my own database of friends and
Oh,
family, sphere of influence, and they're on my newsletter and they hear from me once a month at least.
so you have a newsletter. That's wonderful.
Yes.
That's good. So I do see because I come from a world of, grassroots marketing. That's something that was embedded into me back when I was, training managers and sales tactics and,
Mhm.
copyright techniques and strategies.
Mhm.
So the world is changing. Everything that used to be isn't anymore. A lot of the world is digital, and a lot of our audience, their attention is in the quick fix, in the quick answers. So I can see how having your own newsletter, having that database that people can depend on, makes it so that you don't have to depend on other platform. You can depend on your own. You're creating your own platform there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As well as social media. I have a big following on Instagram. So, whenever there's market news, I put it on Instagram, I put it in my newsletter. Um, if there are interesting new developments coming up in New York City, I definitely will uh, send an email on those new developments. Yeah.
So you're situating yourself as an authority figure in the matter, so that
Yes.
they can depend on your input, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
Absolutely.
when because I like the fact that you do have design, like you have design in mind, and you enjoy your interior design expertise and your background as a Wall Street analyst. So how do you put all of these, how do you integrate all of your expertise, right? And proposition it to your audience in such a way that you stand out, like you're giving yourself a competitive advantage. How do you do that? How do you position yourself?
Well, I position myself as ex-Wall Streeter with good financial skills, native New Yorker with a good eye for design. That's sort of my three selling points. But really, it's my passion about something that drives me to put it in a newsletter or put it in social media or talk about it in a video or in a reel.
Mhm.
Um, if I see a development in New York City, or if I see an apartment in New York City that I feel is a very good investment, or I feel is very beautiful, or is in a great location that's going to appreciate, that's something that I'll talk about. And that's really just based on my own innate knowledge of New York and really my passion and what my sixth sense is telling me.
Right, right. I also noticed that you mentioned that the individuals that you see a lot come your way are these students or these younger generations that are being placed by their parents or their loved ones, that are being more or less kind of held, their hands are being held more or less. Do you try to connect more to the younger generation, or do you try to perceive yourself as the authority of information for those parents that are looking for the right location for their kids, that are
Mhm.
trying to understand better where their family's going to be living? Where do you position yourself more?
Yeah, I tend to attract a very young audience, which I find so funny. I tend to get along very well with younger people, but I also think younger people these days are extremely smart and they're on top of everything. So the parents actually are less concerned about the numbers and more concerned about safety. Is this a
Right.
good building? Is this a good investment? Will my child be safe? Um, they're concerned about the finances. What are the costs? What are the closing costs? How much do I have to put down? So I think that everybody's very nervous, and I play more of a role of educator and maybe therapist or something like that. I don't know what it
Right,
is.
right.
Um, and and I'll say, listen, I know this neighborhood. I've seen it appreciate. Um, this is New York City. Don't be scared. By 2 blocks down, there's a crazy person screaming and yelling. I can't
Mhm.
control the city. But I think there is a lot of fear as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Well, the world has been changing for some time, and standards are, changing as well. And so we need to become flexible and, keep our ear to the ground, right? To understand uh, what is coming our way and how to use that information to benefit our audience. And I think from what you're telling me, you do that very well. And it's one of those things that understanding where your audience is, understanding where your people are, what they're feeling, how they would perceive the information you're giving them, is it going to benefit them? So when you're more or less building this newsletter, for example, are you looking at what they need and providing them resources, or just giving them feedback on what's happening around them? So how do you position your newsletters, for example?
Yeah, every newsletter has a summary, very quick and dry summary of what's going on in the market over the last month. Just a quick synopsis, because people's attention spans these days are short, and I don't like to throw in a lot of numbers. So it's just the basics. And then I'll talk about two or three things that are happening in New York City regarding real estate that are important. I might also throw in something fun that's going on in the city. And I might talk about some great celebrity sale or purchase by someone famous, because that's always interesting to talk about.
Right.
So I try to make it fun. And then I'll show listings. Either I'll just create a collection of, here's what $1 million can buy in the West Village, or here's what Upper West Side 3-bedroom condos are going for. I'll pick a category of apartments
Mhm.
that are similar and show what the features are and what they look like.
Right, right. It's always been, for me at least, a sense of contention when I find that monetizing your skill sets become your success, but you don't move forward, you don't thrive after that. You see that you've had some success, and so you stay comfortable in that corner,
Mhm.
afraid to kind of move forward and do bigger things. So, to, what I'm trying to lead to here is how how do you monetize certain aspects of your business? Do you stick to monetizing and finding the profit within the sale of, say, like, the property, or the renting and the transaction itself,
Mhm.
or did you expand out and did you monetize in other aspects as well?
No, I mean, I get paid when a deal closes. Either a buyer closes on their purchase, or a seller sells their apartment, or a renter leases an apartment, or a landlord hires me to sell his or her apartment and I rent
Mhm.
it. And those I get paid at the closing. So that's
Okay.
how I get paid. Everything I do up until that point is I'm not getting paid. That's real
Right.
estate. We
Right.
work on commission.
Right, right. And so this business that you have you decided, or considered even, to synergize or collaborate with other pieces of, say, the puzzle, for example, like the designing piece, the furnishing of the rentals or the locations. Have you considered expanding and reaching out to different businesses that provide that aspect for a more complete picture, and maybe monetizing that interaction?
Well, I do work with a great deal of resources: lenders, lawyers, stagers, interior designers, architects. Everyone has their specialty, and I call on them when I need them for a listing or for a buyer. Uh, but they get paid by the seller or by the buyer. I'm not involved in any of that.
Mhm.
And I don't get a commission off of their services. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Right.
no, to answer your question, no, I don't do that. No.
Right. So that is, and then that's probably where some people might differ from you, because their business might be something of a more service nature instead of a product, and they see, say, for example, the newsletter, where they can kind of collaborate with a designer and give people an update of the most recent designs that they've accomplished, to kind of motivate or give their newsletter subscribers an idea of what could happen with a beautiful space.
Mhm.
And if they were to contact this designer, they can do so through you, or you can get a commission, almost like an affiliate like situation.
Mhm.
So newsletters, I find to be very important when you're trying to expand your reach and you're trying to sustain, right, an audience, and provide them with what they need to see
Mhm.
that you understand them, that you give them not fluff, but more, substance. So now that we've considered everything that you've done so far and everything that you are currently doing to like, promote your business, to reach your audience, tell us a little bit more about your concept, right, Ellen? So let's open the floor for your core concept. What is, right, the tangible, actionable strategy that our listeners can implement immediately if they were in a situation like you were in the beginning? What can they do?
You mean to launch their business?
Mhm.
To launch a business?
Right, to launch a business, it could be service or a product industry, but essentially making that step forward like you did. What would be that actionable strategy that our listeners can implement
Mhm.
immediately?
Well, I would do a lot of research in that product or service that you're interested in working in, and see where you can provide value, see where the pain points are, see where you can solve a problem for people. I would probably have a lot of savings in the bank before I ventured out and quit my job. Um, I would definitely have a business plan in place and some processes in place to build momentum and get your business off the ground.
Right, right.
I mean, it really depends on what it is. I can't. I
Right.
don't know what, yeah.
I
I
think
mean, I
that's
know what I had to
mhm.
do in real estate, but
Right.
yeah,
'Cause you're in real estate, so everything that you can connect to will be in that industry. And I
yeah,
know that a lot of things can be genuinely flexible, but in its core, I think what I hear is mindset and a lot of what is foresight, right? Because if you're going to make that transition, you need to do so with all your eggs, accounted for, understanding your budget, for example, maybe understanding,
yes.
where you will be in a year and do you have what you need in case things go south. Am I
Mhm.
right?
Yes, yes. I probably didn't think that far ahead. I I don't yeah, I tend not to think far ahead because the market changes so rapidly.
Right.
But there are things that I have put in place that continue no matter what the market is doing. Yes.
Right. What were kind of the things that you had to monetarily consider when you were making that shift? Like, what did you have to consider? I need to be able to afford this before I make this transition.
Well, I had to obviously cover all my bills and my overhead in New York City,
Right.
and I did had to invest. I mean, even when you join a real estate company, there are fees that you have to pay to be part of that company, and
Mhm.
there are fees you pay that are part of the New York City real estate community that you have to pay. And I pay for leads, and I have a website, and I pay for hosting fees. So there's a great deal of fees that go on, and there's a lot of money that goes out every month. And there's some months where all the bills are getting paid perfectly, and then there are months where they're not, and I just do what I can. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's one of those things you figure this is what I need to consume on a monthly basis. And this is what it takes to be able to function so that I can have that income, right? That money flowing back into the bank accounts. So of course, like you said, like there's subscriptions, right? There's certain tools that you need. And in many cases, licensing. I think a lot of people that are in these kind of industries, they need to be up to date with certain licensings. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Every 2 years, I have to take a certain number of hours of courses to upgrade my license. I have
Mhm.
to pay industry fees. Compass has a very expensive resource fee that we paid for technology. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fees involved. I think there's more fees than people realize. Yeah.
Right. Right. So having, I would say, what do you use to keep all of those numbers in place? Like, what do you use, like a Google Excel, like a Google Sheet, or some sort of Notion pad? Like, what is it that your infrastructure, your productivity looks like? Because a lot of people get mixed up with all the tools and the gadgets, and sometimes keeping it simple works, or sometimes keeping it more involved works. For you, what does that look like? Keeping all of your numbers straight.
I use Excel. I have Excel spreadsheets that keeps track of my costs and my savings and my income, and that's what I use. I do keep it simple.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have so many different Airtables, which is like Excel on steroids, for example. And many times when I sit with a client or when I'm coaching, I see that people have all these gadgets. This one does this one sends me an email, this one gives me an alert, and they have to spend more time maintaining all of these things rather than just going to one place and keeping it simple, as you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I will say that branding, it's very hard to understand the return on investment in branding. I see branding as a very long-term investment that just has to keep going.
Mhm.
Branding being the videos, the social media, the newsletter, the podcasting. I mean, I don't expect after this podcast to get three sales. I mean,
Right.
I just don't. Or every time I post on Instagram, I don't expect people to be calling me immediately.
Right.
I just see it as a long term investment in myself so that no matter where I work, people know me, Ellen Silverman. And it's an ongoing expense with not a lot of return on investment. uh, certainly in the beginning. And but it's part of doing business. I mean, when I do my taxes at the end of the year, I'll write everything off.
Right. And many people don't realize a lot of the things that we do to try, say, promote our business or to find a footing in the industry, you can write it off as a tax expense.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that when, say, for example, when I worked with as a relationship manager in a certain bank for many years, a lot of people come to my office and not understand the first thing about how to move forward with their finances after spending so much in, say, a hobby that would have potentially been a business. So when you see all of these expenses, I think the mindset and the organizing, optimizing a workflow, building a foundation is where you can kind of catapult to a more braver spot,
Mhm.
feeling like you have that security of understanding. And you had that because you were very comfortable in the conversation. You were very comfortable in the real estate. So you understood, this is what I'm going to need, right? This is where I'm at in life. My season in life makes it so that I'm comfortable making this move forward. I do see that in the industry of real estate, it fluctuates, like you mentioned. Sometimes you're doing great, and then sometimes you need to kind of like dig into those savings and kind of reevaluate certain things, right? Does
Mhm.
that does it feel like that happens more often, or is it becoming less often for you?
Well, it is becoming less often, but it always happens. I mean, right now it's August and it's very slow and very quiet, and it can be very disconcerting. But I just try to stay very focused and keep up my branding and my networking and my newsletter. I go out and I look at new developments in the rental market, in the condo market, and that keeps my interest extremely high. I always find that very exciting, and I like to talk about it. So that's what I do when I'm not busy. And usually in the fall, things pick up again. It always does,
Hmm.
and I think also right now where, New York City's going through, we're going to be going through an election for a new mayor, and that's creating a lot of uncertainty.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I think obviously, when politics change in certain areas, if there's a shift of, what's concerning people, what isn't concerning people, what's potentially what their, aspirations are. And so you kind of need to tap into that to understand what's going to happen. And I think also listening to you, I see that you have a very good grasp of like the trends that are happening, right? The season, you understand that fall's coming. So understanding your industry and its seasons and its trends w- should shift your attention and your goals and your planning. Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important to take breaks. It's important to take a vacation, to have a balanced life. I mean, absolutely. And yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, looking forward, right? And seeing that real estate industries evolve with technology, because automation, AI is such a big thing right now. And, you know, changing buyer behaviors and market shifts. As an entrepreneur in this space, what trends, right now that we're talking about trends a little bit here, are you preparing for? How are you positioning your business to stay ahead of this industry changes? Especially with AI and everything else that's happening right now with technology.
Well, I mean, Compass uses AI in a lot of the tools. If I have to write something, I'll use AI as an assistant to help me write. Or if I'm doing research, or if I'm trying to interpret data, I could plug a spreadsheet into AI and get get their interpretation, and then use that and embellish it and put my spin on it. Certainly, that has been very helpful. I don't think AI can replace a real estate agent. This is an emotional business.
Right.
You definitely have to have someone guide you and show you apartments and explain all the features of an apartment. explain how a building works, explain the finances. I don't think that's something an AI robot or
Right,
ChatGPT can provide. It's still a relationship business. So
right.
I'm not really concerned about AI at all. I mean, I use it as a tool to help me, but it's not going to replace me.
Good, good. So, I mean, it's perfectly understandable that the human factor is really where the magic is in your industry,
Oh yeah.
tapping into the human aspect that feels right, that feels the question coming, feels the concerns, understands where the root of those concerns are from, so that you can tap into that when you're having that conversation about the property or that piece of real estate. So I don't see an AI being able to tap into that human factor.
Yeah, and plus all the resources I work with, lawyers, lenders, architects, designers, these are real people with real solutions and they need there are relationships and there's communication back and forth. You
Right.
know, they're problem solvers. We're all trying to solve problems to create a deal and make it close. And furthermore, a client needs to physically go into every apartment they are interested in buying. So the emotional aspects of that can't be replaced.
Of course. Of course. Like if you were to say, you're going into a conversation with somebody, you're introducing a space for the first time to this individual. It's a matter of them feeling your concern for them feeling that you're interested in their well-being, and having that exchange, right, of human experiences, so they can see that you come from a place of knowledge. So that more or less, especially in your industry and in many others, you're positioning yourself more than you are, say, the property or the real estate or the potential asset. You're positioning yourself as something, hey, I understand you. I see you. I can see that you're coming from this place. This is what I have, and this is why I have it for you. So I feel like if you position yourself, which I'm sure you can probably, tell me if I'm wrong here, but if you position yourself as the person who's more concerned about their well-being, about what they're concerned for, you're not going anywhere. If anything, AI can't replace that kind of behavior.
No, absolutely not. Or my innate knowledge of the city.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. Or my knowledge of landlords, which ones are good, which ones are bad, and certainly the mindset of the seller. So yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So the work-life balance, right? This is something that a lot of people, especially those with big families, or, parents trying to find their footing outside of the 9 to 5, that balance, is that something that you struggled with, saying in this very demanding, niche that you're in, dealing with the high stakes, transactions, international time zones that could be absolutely crazy, and, the crazy clients? How did you maintain that work-life balance while building a thriving business? What boundaries have you had to set for yourself?
Yeah, well, the good thing about dealing with clients in Europe and in Asia is that they're ahead of New York City time. So if I get up really early, I can call them and it's great. And you can get a lot done early in the morning.
Right.
I don't find it that terrible. I don't get a lot of late night calls. I don't usually after 8 or 9, my phone isn't ringing unless I'm really in the middle of a very important deal. Um, Weekends, I do have to show apartments, usually one day of the weekend, but it's not all day.
Mhm.
So I find I do have time on the weekends for myself. Um, and I really, it hasn't been that bad. I mean, there are periods where it's very, very busy and you just have to be very, very busy for
Right.
2 or 3 or 4 weeks and then it's over and then you can kind of go back to normal. So I find that there are busy periods and then there are slow periods. Right now I'm very, very slow and I'm able to take a vacation and have my weekends and it's okay.
And recharge. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
And everything you said so far to me feels like you're in a situation now that you have that ability to say, "This is coming. Like, this is in the horizon. I understand what's coming next." A lot of our, audience members don't have that experience yet. They're more afraid of what's coming than where they came from. So, what would you say to that person?
Mm. Wow. Well, I think you really just need to do your homework and understand your industry and the ebbs and flows of that, understand the costs involved, understand, you know, what level of profit do you need? Do you
Right.
want? And then work backwards. If I want $10,000 a month, what do I have to do to attain that? And then work backwards. Whatever that means. I don't know what that would mean, but maybe it means, this many phone calls or this many emails or this many product launches or this many networking events. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Do you do a lot of cold calling or more, warm calls for your industry?
Yeah, I don't like doing cold calling at all. I I,
Mhm.
I definitely do warm calls. Yeah, I don't like it because I think we're bombarded with a lot of spam these
Yes.
days, and people don't like the phone as it is. So I try to keep the calls to warm or hot leads. Definitely.
Right. And just to kind of wrap up terms of branding and marketing and things of that nature, I feel that we need to have a better picture as to what exactly is it you're doing to put yourself out there besides, say, for example, like the public stuff with the podcast and the episodes. Do you have, say, for example, ads that you have to consider every month? Do you have a stipend for that? Do you have, say, for example, articles or any front page news articles that you do? What are you doing to kind of position yourself and brand yourself out there, and the expense that
Right.
comes with that?
Yeah, I've been doing podcasting. I did work with a video coach to get me doing more videos on Instagram, more reels, because that's really what people are watching these days. So I invested in that, and now I'm trying to do one reel a week. Um, I am trying to do more articles. I hired a PR coach, and she's been getting me uh, written articles that I write or they write about me. So and then my newsletter. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. Yeah.
And how long have you been doing this technique, this strategy of yours? How long?
I've been I it, this year, 2025, I started the podcasting, the videos, and the PR, all
Have
three.
you seen any change in that? Have you seen an increase, or are you more comfortable with the workflow that you're doing?
I have seen an increase. I don't know if it's attributable to all the branding that I'm doing, but I have seen an increase in the number of deals I'm doing and in my profits. And I think that everything is on my website. And so when people go to
Mhm.
my website, they see
Right.
that I'm doing more public speaking, I'm doing podcasting, I'm in featured in publications all over the world, so it gives me more credibility.
Right, right, absolutely. It gives you absolutely a lot more credibility and authority in the subject. So, and I'm sure it also helps with the public relation piece and in getting you out there, getting the word out there about you and your experience and skill sets. So, thank you for coming along to our show and spending some time and hanging out with us and answering these questions. So, before we wrap up, Ellen, I know that you have an incredible free gift for our audience in Talk Thrive community. Can you go ahead and let us know what that is and where can they find it?
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to give a free consultation and my buyer's guide to anyone interested in venturing into the New York City market, even as a seller or a buyer or as a renter.
Mhm.
I have specific guides that I can email anyone interested, or if anyone just wants to have a conversation about anything real estate related, I'm happy to answer any questions. And you can find me on Instagram at Ellen J. Silverman or on compass.com, and just look me up under Agents Ellen Silverman.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Ellen. And I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. And just to wrap up, I suppose we're going to go ahead and make sure you guys know that everything is going to be in a description. We'll have Ellen's codes and links readily available for you in our website at www.bessiehoffman.com/spotlight or podcast, either one of them. And you can find us on YouTube as well. And of course, Ellen, as always, we are going to always be here to make sure that you're not just succeeding, but you're thriving. So,
Thank you
talk to
so much.
everybody again soon. Ellen, a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.